The what? What is it?
Transfer appropriation.
Oh, I think I'm losing my voice.
Call to order the Board of School Trustees regular meeting for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, and ask each of you to stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And before we get started, we'd like to have a moment of silence in memory of Brianna Provaleri Mandrell. She's a former second grade teacher at Anderson Elementary School who recently passed away. Thank you. Moving on to student recognition, I'd like to ask our athletic director, Patrick, to come forward, please.
Dr. Brown and School Board, thank you once again for having us this month to recognize a couple young ladies who are pioneers in the sport of girls wrestling, and have been actively in it since they've been at a younger age, all the way up from middle school to high school. And at this time, I'd like to have Coach Sam Johnson please come up and recognize your ladies.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to do this and continue to recognize something, really cool accomplishments. And you guys have been supportive throughout the process. This being the IHSA's first year sanctioning girls wrestling since 2017. We operated under the Indiana High School Girls Wrestling Association with a lot of success, even through that was recognized each time. So we definitely appreciate that. Moving on to these two, why we're here, for that portion of it anyway. Both with incredible resumes so far through their high school careers. Brooklyn Neese, sophomore. Last year she was a round away from going to state. Last year was a round away from going to state. This year kind of fixes some confidence issues, I think, and takes sixth as a sophomore, sectional runner-up, regional runner-up, and then ultimately with a sixth place medal. Junior Maylee Skinner. Another awesome resume as a freshman, took fourth under that IHSGW banner. Last year was a state qualifier. This year under that first IHSA season, sectional champ, regional champ. Record of 30-1, only loss coming in that semifinals match at state. Finishing it up with a third place medal.
David, you take 2 steps to your left.
Jody, if you all can
Nope, I got one.
Now don't move when you're done, when Ashton's done. Okay, wait, go ahead. Oh, yeah, you sure can.
She's like, come on, Mom.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Okay, looks like it's Rikers Ridge night, huh? You got the Ridge Runners here with us, and I'd like you to step up and let us know what's going on at Rikers Ridge, please.
All right, so see, this presentation should be going up to the screen, I think. But I just want to thank the board for allowing me to have a mic tonight. I know that can sometimes be a precarious situation when you give me the mic so that I can say whatever I need to say. I promised that, I told my wife that, to clear the night in case I need to be here the whole night to do this. Pam, Dr. Brown, I'm kidding. 30 minutes. But thank you for braving the ice to come out here and join us. I'm excited to talk about Rikers Ridge. I've loved being out there this last year and a half. They've accepted me as one of their own, as a Rikers Ridge person out there. So I also want to thank my teachers who came here tonight, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Lawfer for taking time out of their night and being here with us and supporting our school. First of all, we have our celebrations. A couple fun things on here. Our student growth data from beginning of the year to our middle of the year data was phenomenal. And that's a testament to our teachers, all the things they're doing. Our Dibbles growth, as you can see there, 99.4%. One student was that 99.4%. It was one kindergartner that I know we need to try and make sure we catch them so they can also grow. But the other students, it was amazing to see all those pieces. The NWEA, 95% growth in math, 91% growth in reading. And again, those are testaments to our teachers and the work they're doing, the things that they are able to accomplish in the classroom. The Dibbles we were able to give to K through 4, and then our NWA was K2. That's what we're able to give that to. The other thing I have on there is communication. I know communication for me is one of my weak points that I know coming in, so I always try to strive to make sure I hit that as hard as I can, to have an open door policy with my staff, make sure that always come and tell me what you need. What is it needs to happen? How do I support you? How do I support the students? One of the things that I started this year was a daily memo. My goal was to only send one email a day to the staff, and so have one email in the morning, so that they can read what we need to do for that day, what are the updates, what are the things that are going to be happening, so that we can then move on throughout the day. Other pieces on here, it's a mentor destination, and I've been really impressed with this. We've had student teachers, we've had Hanover College tutors, some coworkers working on Bloom boards, some colleagues that are mentors for them. 9 of our teachers are mentors in some capacity in that regard, which again, I think is a huge win for us. I've already had one of our Hanover College tutors tell me he has requested Rikers Ridge next year for his student teaching placement. And I think that's just a testament, again, the things that our teachers are doing to help these students be prepared for that next level. Another testament is we had one Hanover College tutor last year. She told the rest of the Hanover College tutors how much she enjoyed Rikers Ridge, and went from 1 last year. We have 5 tutors this year that we can have during the school day, meet our students' needs in science of reading. They're trained in science of reading, which is a help for our students, our teachers, and for those Hanover College students. So it's a win-win if we're thinking about our 7 habits for Rikers Ridge. Our final celebration here is just staff growth. We've got 2 people pursuing their administrator's license, sitting right over here with us, which I can't wait to see what they do with those licenses. They're going to be fantastic. And being able to have other leaders in the building that I can rely on and bounce ideas off of, brainstorm, and go through those processes has been a huge celebration for me. Other things we have 3 others continuing their education. One who has gotten their teaching certificate, who's now going to be subbing for us more frequently, so that we can then train him through that process and work on all the pieces that it is to be a teacher. And then 2 others that are also pursuing more education and bettering themselves through one getting their master's and one finishing up her Bloom board, which again, fantastic that they are willing to take that next step, because the work of a teacher is always learning and growing. So then it moves to our goals here. Our academic goal, as you can see there, is as a school, we want to have 100% growth for our students, because we know that's going to be in math and reading, and seeing what that looks like from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. We almost hit that growth with our couple assessments we did beginning to middle at 99.4%. So now it's jumping up to that 100 to meet our goal there. Another one up there, we have student attendance. That's going to hit at 96% as our goal. I'll have Ms. Thomas share a little bit more about attendance here later. But as a 96% goal, this year we have hit that so far 8 times, which again, I wish that was more, that we had 96% attendance as a school. As a school as a whole, I think we're hovering around those low 90s on average for the whole school year. So again, that's something we want to continue to bump up, and a few things we can do to try and make that happen. Student leadership. What I put on here was actually behavior, because as a student is more in those leadership capacities, more in those leadership roles, our goal is hopefully that behavior then decreases. They can show they can be leaders in the positive and the right way. And our goal is to decrease those office referrals by 50%. So looking at this one, that decrease right now, we're at 37.6% as our office referrals from last year to what we are currently at this year. And we didn't start that referral process till after fall break last year. So it's about 3 terms. We're able to compare that data from last year to this year as far as our referral process goes. Again, hopefully we can bump that up some more as a 37.6% decrease. We want to increase that to that 50% as our goal. Then staff and student culture. Trying to make sure we have a positive school culture for students, for staff, because that's a whole culture piece of trying to make sure that we can all enjoy where we're at. And this is going to be measured through our measurable results assessment that we get through our Leader in Me license and through the Covey Institute. Last year we had a 98% positive feedback from students and staff. So that was a goal met for last year, and hopefully we continue that this year. Next up is supporting our student growth. And so at this time, I do want to introduce one of our 3rd grade teachers at Rikers Ridge, Miss Erin Thomas.
Move this down. My name is Erin Thomas. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak on behalf of Rikers Ridge. I've been at the buildings for 12 years now, and I've been with Rikers through the entire Leader in Me process, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But Mr. Mahoney has already touched on attendance, and I'm just going to talk about what our initiatives are in order to get our attendance to improve. As he mentioned, we have about a 92% average attendance rate each month. As he said also, that we have met our 96% goal 8 times, and each time we have that goal met, our students are met with an incentive. We've had popsicles, we've had ice cream, we've had popcorn, and things like that. And we're continuing to ask students what they want to have for their student voice to add to those incentives also. AEP weekly meetings, that's alternative to an expulsion program, and we have that in collaboration with the prosecutor's office. What that means is each Monday, our school resource officer, our attendance clerk, our counselor, and Mr. Mahoney get together, and they come up with proactive measures so that we can help families meet our attendance goal, because the state requires us to have 18 or fewer days for them to avoid chronic absenteeism, and we know that attendance is something that we struggle with in growth. And so we're trying to take those proactive measures to get our attendance to be better. One of those measures is we invite families into our building with those students who are struggling with their difficulty with absenteeism, and we create a plan with them so that we can assist them in getting their students to school, because we all know as families it's really hard to get our students to school on time when we have outside noise. And sometimes school is not as important as some of those other things. And so we're trying to get our students to school on time by giving them the resources to do so. We have been sending letters to address chronic absenteeism, and we've always done that, but we've really buckled down this year, and we've really followed through with the policies of sending them more frequently. And in fact, we send an extra letter, as like we said, a preventative letter, just to let them know that they're approaching a next consequence or services. And then, as I already said, we take the team approach through our AEP meetings. And as you can see in the photograph, that is something that Mrs. Lorig, our counselor, has been managing with one of our student leaders. Each day they go through and they change the percentage of attendance so that students can be well informed also on how we're doing on attendance. The next photograph is actually our academic wig wall, and through the Leader in Me program, we call those wildly important goals. And each one of those paws represents a lead measure. And what happens is every single day, students track their progress toward their goals. And at the end of every month, we get together and we talk about those lead measures and our lag measure, which is ultimately overall growth in their toward their academic success. And so I'll get to more of that with the leader and me. But some of the data that we collect is our DIBELS. And Mr. Mahoney said 99.6% of our students, 99.4, excuse me, percent of our students met their DIBELS growth. That's one child out of 168 that were tested. So that is pretty phenomenal. And so, but through that measure, we know that we have to keep going with that initiative because I-READ, and as a third grade teacher, I have to give I-READ, and that's a very high stakes test. And thanks to Sean, he has provided a great amount of data that proves that our middle of the year resources through the DIBELS can give us an idea of how many students should pass the I-READ. And so we have been tracking those, what we call blue folder kids, those students who are at risk for not passing the I-READ through our interventions. We have really strong interventionists they meet with every single day for tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. Plus they also get tier 1 and tier 2 instruction in the classroom too. So we are trying to bend over backwards so that we can get our students to grow. And so also at the bottom, it says data in students' hands. I'll get to that in our data notebooks, but MTSS, every building has implemented MTSS. Again, that is a collaborative effort so that all students are discussed in some capacity, whether it's an academic or behavioral situation, anything that they might need for any kind of intervention. Every student has a reason to grow. And so we work on that together each month to discuss what each student needs. I am going to pass the mic back to Mr. Mahoney. He is going to be talking about TBRI. I'm sorry. I apologize. Wrong person. It is Mrs. Lawfer.
Good evening. Thank you for welcoming me back again tonight. I'm very blessed to be part of the deputy staff as well as the Rikers Ridge staff. To foster the success for our staff and students at Rikers Ridge, we have rolled out a variety of supports. Our coaching cycles being one, and with our coaching cycles, that's a 4 to 6 week process where I go into the classroom with the teacher and thought partner alongside them. We plan together, we teach together, we progress monitor together, and then we assess. This helps us make real-time adjustments to our instruction while in the classroom together. Teacher efficacy has been proven to enhance the student results. So what better way than putting two professionals in a classroom together, working alongside for the betterment of our students. Strengthening our interventions. This has been something very intentional on our hearts out at Rikers Ridge. We've made it one of our priorities to strengthen these small group interventions with being able to make instruction more focused and skill-based. We have improved our data-driven decision-making with data dives. This is where I can meet with grade level teachers, I can meet as a team, or I can meet individually, and we really look at our data. And we were, Kenton and Aaron both mentioned that we have DIBELS and we have DIBELS and we have M-Class, and we also have student evidence from the classroom. Our student evidence from the classroom really can be a key because many times what teachers are seeing in the classroom can kind of guide what needs to be done. So when we take a deep dive at that, then we can really get focused on what our students need. We also have our PLCs that take place weekly. These happen across grade levels. And we use these to identify patterns and make informed adjustments to our instruction. Kenton and Aaron also both mentioned our MTSS meetings. This is where we meet as a building. We have administrators and we have counselors along with our interventionists, coaches, and we really dive deep into what our students need. And it's a whole student. You know, students might come in, like Aaron said, with emotional issues. They might come in with behavioral issues. They might have academic issues. So it's really nice to have the whole team on board working together for the betterment of our students. In our school, we also focus on our school's reading goal. And in order to meet that, we have ongoing staff growth through our potty PDs. which are PDs that the coaches, the literacy coaches, have placed in the bathrooms. And we also have monthly newsletters that go out to our staff members. We have also recently started, last week, we just started some PD with our ISPs on small group work, getting them trained in the science of reading as well so they can better facilitate some small groups in the classrooms with the teachers. These pictures that you see up on the board are just a few of the snapshots that we have out at Rikers. Many times we get so busy and all of the things that we're doing that we forget to stop and take pictures. But I want to pull your attention to the graph there. You see the red and the green. This is a data collected from our cycle in second grade on UFly. The red are where the students were before we started our, we did a pre-assessment before we started our coaching cycle together. And then the green is when we finished. And as you can see, the results are just phenomenal. Let's see, what else did I, so this, let's see, this choice board, let me go to the next one. There we go. This choice board is, I send out this once every 9 weeks to our teachers. And being a coach, I not only do coaching cycles and go into the classroom with the teachers, but we have purposeful planning, we have data partners, we have professional growth and working on teacher craft. So sometimes the teacher doesn't really need me to come in at the moment for a 4 to 6 week cycle, but they do need someone to sit down and plan with them, maybe plan out a unit that they're getting ready to work on. Or we have just taken our middle of the year testing and assessments, and they want a data partner to sit down and really dive in deep to that data. And sometimes they just want to work on themselves. Sometimes they just need that personal honing of their craft. The staff at Rikers is such a blessing to me. I've been there for quite a long time, and they truly have the student's heart, or the students, you know, as part of their heart. So they're really doing some great things out there, and I'm very blessed to be part of it. Thank you.
Awesome.
So I'm going to jump in the TBRI piece here. So Miss Lord was going to be here tonight with us. She's a phenomenal part of things that we do as far as our attendance and our TBRI, but she was unfortunately sick this last couple of days, so she wasn't able to be here. So Ms. Thomas filled in for the attendance piece, and I'm going to fill in here for the TBRI piece. But like I said, Nicole is a integral part to what we do with our TBRI, which is a new thing that we started last year. A couple things that we did notice as a staff. We talked to our TBRI coordinator, Katie Brennan, about things that we needed at Rikers Ridge. We were struggling sometimes with implementation, finding time to get those things done, and sometimes maybe if we're not implementing, maybe it's a comfortability thing. So once Michelle Stewart was hired as our TBRI coach for the district, Nicole and I paired with her so that we could find a way to fix that, solve that problem. Solution we came up with was let's run nurture groups, which is just a small group of people to get together to try and run a professional development over a specific TBRI lesson, to try and make sure they were comfortable so that then we could implement that in the classroom. So if teachers maybe felt comfortable with it, let's go ahead and then try that in the classroom. And we did that. In first semester, we were able to choose 3 topics that we felt like we could pursue. And we felt like it was successful because we saw an impact for our students, because the whole part of TBRI is to make an impact for our students, understand where they're coming from, be trauma informed, understand what their brain capacity is. Because we know a dysregulated student can't understand any academics. They're not going to be able to do a reading lesson, a UFly lesson. So let's make sure they're regulated so then we can then bump up that growth for them. So our plan moving forward is on the screen there too. So in January, our focus was self-worth, which I think hit right where we needed it to, because it was also our focus for our TBRI consultation that we had Monday, was self-worth. How do we make sure that students see that they are worthy, that this kid who may come to my office doesn't describe himself as a mean kid, but maybe the actions were not good actions, not trying to allow them to see themselves as a bad kid, maybe bad actions, and trying to reason from there, which then moves us into February, which Michelle Stewart did run for us, was the mindful awareness is our goal for February, which then gives me the really fun one, willful disobedience versus stress response. is the one that I get to run for the teachers, and Nicole and Michelle always joke that I get the really fun ones, to be able to go through those processes with the teachers so that we can teach them to the students. But it's been a huge support for me to have a counselor and a TBRI coach who see the need in our building and want to try and help us and decrease those student behaviors so that we can see the academic growth. So then it moves us into our professional learning communities. Because as I said with TBRI, we want to make sure that a student is regulated so that we can then catch them in that moment so we can then grow them. Just to give you an update on our PLCs, first semester, it was all about understanding, getting to learn it, dive in, try to make sure that we are figuring out what works for our building. And 5 weeks in, teachers, they're biting at the bit. Let's get this thing started. Let's get this thing going. We're ready to go. Let's keep moving. We kept pushing, trying to teach, to make sure that we could fully understand the process. So this second semester, other successes we have, we were able to finally start to dive in. And it started out slow because, we had all that snow in January. So I like to joke that, we had 2 weeks where we were frozen, took us 2 weeks to thaw, and somehow it's already February. So don't know where those 6 weeks went, but it's gone already. So it's us moving in and really trying to dive into where we're at the district level for our POCs, but also in our building, and diving into the data, making sure it is data focused so that we have our students at the front and center. And then I have had so many teachers excited about the process. I know that I had some teachers who were hesitant last week come up and tell me they were so excited with their PLC they had last week that they rocked it. So from their words, they rocked their PLC, they rocked their data, and couldn't wait for me to go check out their agenda so I can go and review that, which I thought that's exactly where we want to be. We want to be at that point where teachers are leaving PLCs excited about what they just planned for their students for that following week. Our next steps, of course, is continue to move forward. Try and keep us more organized, try and keep us finding the right data that works for us, and then finding those right assessments that work for all of our students. And then, of course, learn the right questions to ask. And that's going to be the learning process for all of us, is figuring out what is that question we need to ask to then take us to that next step, take us to that next level to keep pushing it. The example I have on here is one of the agendas from our preschool. I was really impressed with some of the things they were doing. They started to think about what the year-long goal was going to look like, and how where they wanted the kids to be in kindergarten. So they went and tried to find as many math, English standards they needed in order to move to kindergarten and get to that point. And both the 4-year-old preschools teachers in there were wonderful at thinking about where they needed to be, where they needed to go, and coming up with these goals. And so I just want to throw that example of what their year-long goals were for preschool. Which then moves us into our future plans. What is the next steps? One thing on here we have is our 8th habit, is service projects. I don't want to take all the stuff because I'm going to have Ms. Thomas also share some more about our service projects at Rikers Ridge. But know that it's one of those things that allows us to create more student leaders, shows them the empathy, and shows that education is not just in the walls of our school, but you can learn so much outside those walls as well. Amanda kind of talked about some of our staff and teacher PD. Lots of acronyms in that list there. ISP, support, instructional support personnel, PD, professional development. You've got the TBRI, PD that we've talked about already, coaching cycles, potty PD, staff meetings to try and make sure that we can keep moving forward and keep working on the craft of teaching. Of course, there's student behavior there. The new thing that Nicole and I have worked on is how do we create a more restorative practice for our behaviors. Because a punishment lasts for so long. We know that the punishment has to fit the crime, right? So what is the thing that needs to happen? But does that really fix the behavior? So how do we teach the kid to learn from that so that it doesn't happen again? And so one of the programs that we've started is ripple effects. It is more restorative. A couple of things that I've liked is when, some kids will be in my office, I'm able to then go look on this program, find 3 or 4 topics, and then they're able to complete these topics. That goes into, here's a video of a scenario of what should you do in this example. It's almost like a social story for our elementary school kids. It allows us to then use some of those practices so then they can use that in the classroom. It's been one of those nice things when I call parents and let them know, hey, this kid was in my office, your son was in my office, your daughter was in my office. Here's what I'm asking them to do. And then they can also work on it with them at home. Because parents are also looking for solutions. They're also looking for ways for things to get better. No parent wants their principal to call. They don't like those things. It's not those fun conversations. So they're looking for solutions. This has been one of those nice things that's been more solution-based. And this has only been the last 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So it's still fairly new. But I'm excited to see the impact it'll make. I don't have the data to support what's actually happened with it yet. But it allows us to track it as we see what's going on with it. Allows them to practice their skills. There's even a section on it that allows them to go through their entire brain and see how, if I do this, here's how it affects my brain. And again, that's one of those pieces that I think also links up with TBRI. The last thing on here is a reading challenge. My goal here was to get books in students' hands. So up until spring break, we started this reading challenge last week. So that our goal as a school is to read 1,000 books. And if they're able to read 1,000 books, that'll be a school dance. Because we have a Lighthouse leader student team that one of the things they asked for was a school dance. I'm like, okay, let's see if we can tie that into an academic goal. And 1,000 books for our students is about 5 books a kid. I feel like that was doable, about 1 book a week until spring break. So then we moved to 2,500 books. If they can read 25 books as a whole school, some of them will be able to be drawn out of a hat, and then silly string Mr. Mahoney. They all were very excited about that. And then, of course, the lofty goal here is 5,000 books. That's about 25 books a kid until spring break, which is a lot of books. But if they can do it, then I have to spend the night on the roof of Rikers Ridge. And the amount of kids who have told me they can't wait to see me on the roof has been outstanding. I keep telling them, just keep reading, guys. Show me you can do it. Show me you can do those things. The additional added incentive is the class who does win will be able to, I will teach their class for that day. So Mr. Mahoney also gets to teach, maybe I'm teaching kindergarten that day. That's okay. If they read the most books in the school, I will absolutely do it. Just another incentive for the teachers to continue to push. Let's get books in those kids' hands. Let's keep them reading and keep them moving in the direction we want them to go in. Last couple slides here are about our story. What is Rikers Ridge as a leader in me school, our service project. So I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Thomas.
Okay, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but we have been a Lighthouse school for about 10 years now, and we are up for our recertification. And this is actually the year that we can apply to be a legacy school. We were actually the 3rd school in the state of Indiana to be named a Lighthouse school, which is a huge honor. And so our building is focused on 3 particular pillars. The first pillar is the education piece, which is basically professional development for kids and their parents on what the habits are. The second pillar is culture, and as Mr. Mahoney said, the culture is what makes our building live. The students are part of that culture, and they are the ones who have the voice the majority of the time. They are the drivers of our building, essentially. And so that culture piece is like our student lighthouse team that Mrs. Lorig facilitates, and they help make decisions and be the voice for their classmates. And then the final pillar is the academic pillar. And in that pillar, students drive their education by tracking their own data. And so every student in our building has a student binder, a leadership binder, and every single day they track their reading, their lead measures, and their attendance goals. Because as we know, those are our 2 biggest goals that is going to help support our school vision, but also our district vision and mission too. And so we put that data into our students' hands because we know that if they are involved in tracking their data, they're more likely to do the work themselves. And so what happens is we take that data and we track it with the students, and then we track it with the classroom, and then we track it with the grade level, and then all of that leads to our school-wide data. And so that helps us in so many ways, with just overall giving the students the power in their own academics and attendance. And so that is the data collection. The site visit we have coming up, we have to schedule it between around April, and we should be recertified by June if all goes well. And every year, I believe we had someone asking us about our leadership day. Every year we had a leadership day where we invite guests from the community to come in, and other schools to come in and see what wonderful things that we're doing to showcase our students, their leadership, and all of the things that they're doing. And I'm going to touch on the service projects too. This is just some pictures of what we've done so far. This year, we have implemented 6 different service learning projects. And what we have done is we have partnered with different community members or communities, partners. And what we have done is students have voted on which partner they would like to support and work with. And of the 6, we have done a couple so far. Here, I'll go back to this one. The first month, we had 2 Lighthouse teams collect and deliver blankets for the Salvation Army with our partnership with Rikers Ridge Baptist Church. In January, we had care kits for the KDH Cancer Unit. We collected different items, and the students actually had the opportunity to deliver those items themselves as a team. And then we have our animal shelter. We will be collecting items for our Jefferson County Animal Shelter. Every year, we do a penny war for multiple sclerosis. We have one of our staff members whose family has been touched by MS, and so we are very focused on that particular organization. In April, we plan to do a big Earth Day cleanup project around the community, and then in May, we plan to have a pediatric cancer drive of some kind. And each one of those has been hosted by a different Lighthouse team. So they are the drivers of it. They're the decision makers, and they get to see the results of what they have done by taking these to these people to see what kind of impact they have. Because we say that we have 7 habits, but really we have 8 habits. And this eighth habit is all about community outreach and having a voice and going out and showing people that Rikers Ridge is doing something special, even though we are very tiny and we are very small in our community, but we can make a very large impact. And so that is our all about Leader and Me in a nutshell. Mr. Mahoney is going to come up and talk about our buddy bench that we did.
And I was lucky enough, for these 2 so far service projects to be the bus driver, just the activity bus driver. But it was amazing to see how the kids interacted with the people they were giving these things to. There's a couple girls in that, the Christmas picture there that still come up to me and tell me how much they loved being able to see these people that they were able to give this to, or be able to sing at the nursing home, because we did that after dropping off the blankets. And some of the older people who just put a smile on their face, we were able to sing some of our Christmas songs. And then just to update you on the bench, I know that's what I shared last year was about the buddy bench. And I just want to thank all of you for supporting us through that. I know many of you gave us bottle caps. I still find bottle caps in pockets when I search through my jackets that somehow have escaped the benches. But our goal was to get 1 bench, which is 200 pounds. We ended up with 3 benches at 600 pounds, plus 2 more raised garden beds at 100 pounds apiece, for a total of 980 pounds is what we're able to raise as a community, which was absolutely amazing to be able to feel that support and do all those things for our students and have that memory for them. 980 pounds was absolutely amazing. We still got 180 pounds on credit because I couldn't find anything else to buy with it down there. So we'll see what else we can come up with later with that too. But again, I thank you so much for allowing us to share tonight and share our special little school out at Rikers Ridge. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Yep.
That's all.
Yes. Yep. Move on to curriculum update with Ms. Janet McCreary.
Next, let's see if I can find. It's behind one of these things, I think. My little tag's in the way. It's not a touch screen. Okay. First of all, thank you for letting us come up. We'll try to keep this short, but as we started preparing this, it kind of got longer and longer because we've had a lot of things going on. A lot of the things that Rikers Ridge hit on, we have going on across the district, so it was kind of exciting. We'll just be repeating a few of those things. To start this all off, we, 2 years ago, had 2 outside needs assessments completed. One was by IU University. The other one was by American Institute for Research, AIRS. And both concluded that we did not have a system in place to make data-driven decisions. So that's when we got to work. We started with the admin team, completing several book studies. Those book studies consisted of coaching conversations, instruction, leadership, professional learning communities, and aligning our arrows. Everything being student-centered, achievement-focused, and everyone valued. So after the book studies, we started to look at our strategic plan, and the strategic planning committee came up with 3 focused goals specifically for student learning. Those are implementation of instructional framework pre-K through 12, the use of data points to drive instruction and programming, and expanding student opportunities. So when we look at instructional framework, our first goal was to get all of our arrows aligned. Arrows was one of the books that we read. We've had the author come in and kick off our first day of school back with our teachers. We've had the superintendent from the school that the book of the arrows was written in come in and work with our admin team. He's met with principals, teachers, met with lots of groups and consulted with us throughout this process. So one of the first things we did to work on aligning our instruction was to create and modify and develop and tweak pre-existing pacing guides to make sure all of our instruction is consistent across the district. We have 4 elementaries. We want 4th grade at Anderson to look like 4th grade at Deputy with the difference in how that's delivered. We wanted consistent vertically aligned with our pacing guides, and we wanted our instruction to be standards driven and based on our students' needs. The next piece that was part of our instructional framework was creating our professional learning communities. And thank you guys for letting us have early release on Wednesday. We've been able to work through the PLC process. We spent the first semester learning how to do it. We had professional development that was provided by our admin team. They developed it, they implemented it, they shared it, they taught it with the staff. A lot of our teachers were just ready to go. We're like, we don't need this. We just need to get in there and do our PLCs. And we're like, hold on, let's be slow. And I think now we are seeing the results of that. We have been, like you said, we've had to throw some virtual in that we didn't count on doing. But hey, the first one we kicked off was virtual, and it was I think it went pretty well. So we're about 6 weeks in, and the discussion that I'm hearing on these meetings, I was able to, because when it's virtual, I can join more because I can pop in and out of them. I was able to attend 2 high school PLCs this morning. I was part of a kindergarten PLC this afternoon. The discussions that I'm witnessing, the data they're looking at, the student-centered, student-focused learning that they're discussing is amazing. I mean, our teachers are doing the heavy lift, and staff. It's not just teachers. Our ISPs are involved. We have counselors involved. They're looking at the whole child and how everybody plays a part in that. So that's been huge. And then the third piece was professional development. We're trying to be very intentional as a district and providing our professional development that is specifically aligned to our arrows. We want to be very intentional. We are trying to provide as much of that in-house as we can. We are doing a lot of train the trainer, and one of the perks that we've had is our coaches. We started with our literacy coaches. They're able to handle most of our science of reading professional development that we need to do across the district. We now have a behavioral coach in the district. We have our college and career readiness coach, and we have a TBRI coach. So I'm very excited with the opportunities that's going to provide us to be able to maintain the initiatives that we have started through training in-house. The other piece that we've also started with professional development, Shannon got with me, and we've implemented the new teacher academy. And that has been, we have 8 sessions planned for this first year. So we meet with our new teachers monthly, and we cover topics that we have seen systematically through the years that are problematic for new teachers. We've taken their feedback on issues, and we've had all kinds of guest speakers come in and provide professional learning opportunities. We've had a lot of panel discussions, which have been some of our best sessions, I think, with veteran teachers and teachers of the year. The teachers of the year have been great to come in and work with our new teacher academy. So I'm going to let Sean talk about this next few slides.
Next few. Good evening. So again, appreciative to the Rikers team for touching on the data-driven processes and Janet giving a background on where it comes from. Over the next few slides, I'm going to try to give you an idea of how we look at data as a district, all the pieces that I manage, and how everything aligns together, whether it's MTSS process, PLCs, it's all a system. I'm going to give you an idea of how it fits together. So to Janet's point, when we had our needs assessments conducted by AIR and IU, when we looked at our curricular framework, children were getting different experiences based on the elementary school that they attended, and that should not be the case. There should be equity of opportunity across the district, so that regardless of where the kids are choosing to attend, they receive the same instruction. So the first step of that was we went through all of our curricular programs with input from teachers, administrators, and we created this instructional pyramid that has, at the 3 tiers of instruction, it is expected that these certain programs are used. They are all research-based. They are to be used in whole group, or even to our interventionists. We've retooled that program to where the programs are aligned with specific skills, and the skills that the students are receiving instruction on are based off of multiple data points. If it's tier 1, universal instruction, the green arrow, that's where if I give an assessment and 80% of my kids score well on an assessment, then I know that I can move on to a different lesson or a different curricular area. If I have 10 to 15% of my kids who are struggling in an area, then that's where I can get into PLCs to talk about, okay, I had this percentage of my kids that were struggling in the X, Y, Z particular curricular area. This is how, as a teacher, I'm going to go in and intervene with that 10 to 15% of kids. That's also where MTSS comes into process, where we can use those tier 2 and tier 3 groupings. They're small groupings, they're very targeted with their time, and try to address any skill gaps that students have. Hit the wrong button. Okay. So the next few slides, just bear with me. You're entering my brain, so God be with you all. This came from a conversation I actually had with Janet and Mr. Lawhead. Teachers are responsible for collecting a lot of information. We have various areas throughout the district where we're collecting items, and to try to make it easier to navigate all of the processes and all of the documents that we have as a district, there is one giant warehouse that has all of our data rosters. If there are frequently used documents from teachers, it has our pacing guides, it has all of our PLC information, and it is routine that anytime we start with a conversation, hey, go to the warehouse. It's in the warehouse. This is an organic, living, breathing document. If somebody wants something put in here, and believe you me, they're not shy about it, they'll send it to me and say, hey, I want this plugged in here, and this is why. And I'm always happy to do that. So the next few slides, I'm going to delve into what is featured here. Okay, this top piece of information that you can see is a data roster. So those color-coded areas are the different assessments that we take on students, and we're about halfway through the year. So what these spreadsheets do is each time that we take an assessment, I have one of these for every school, for every teacher, every student at MCS is on one of these data rosters where we're tracking their performance longitudinally from year to year. This is a process that is new to us. We're in year 2 of this. But the desire is that from the time a child starts in pre-K at MCS, by the time they leave, when they're in 12th grade, that we can have a longitudinal picture of that child's progress throughout their academic career. We can use this information to guide instruction. We can use it in conversations with parents, and children don't fall through the cracks this way. So that we can constantly see where to intervene, where are we doing well, and where can we address any proficiency issues that we have. All the teachers in here, anyone that has children, Miss Emma, you're on one. So K through 12. And what teachers do in using this data, and it's starting to happen more and more, where grade levels will sit and ask me to come look at data with them. Individual teachers will ask me to come sit and look at data with them. And we just treat it as a conversation, because I don't know what they do or what they see with their children on a day in, day out basis. I come in as an unbiased party. Here's what I see based on the numbers, but what do you see? And then we can come up with plans together that they can go and try to plan and work collaboratively with one another. So we'll start off, we'll take the information that we're getting when we're taking our assessments. The bottom left in the middle picture, that's a PLC agenda that our teachers, again, with the vision of Dr. Brown and as the board granting us that early release time on Wednesdays, teachers use these guiding documents. It's got 4 guiding questions. What do we want students to know? How we know when we get there? How are we going to reach them? What are we going to do if students aren't performing the way that we want them to? So this is where they get in to work with teams and their individual teacher groupings within their schools if they work on teams, or if you're a deputy and you're a party of one. And they determine, okay, this is how I need to address either what's coming next in the pacing guide, or here's how I want to address something collectively in a grade level where maybe students didn't perform as well on an assessment if I want to. The bottom right-hand corner, that's an MTSS agenda. So say I'm working at my PLC and I consistently have 3 to 5 students that are struggling in a particular area. Then we will delve down into those 3 to 5 kids in the MTSS meeting to try to delve into, like what Rikers mentioned, it is a behavioral issue. Is it something happening at home? Is what is happening with the student where they're not performing well, or what do we need to do better to meet their needs? So we start off with the data. They take the data to Wednesday PLC discussions, and then once a month, we sit down collaboratively and collectively as a group to try to address individual student needs. Questions? No? I'll keep going. This is the J-curve that we also talk about during PLCs. So really this is based off of the data. We can start with an in-class intervention that the teacher is going to lead. So if I have small grouping, the teacher can lead a tier 2 intervention group. An intensive in-class intervention, that's where our Title I ISPs can work on tier 2 groups. Our teachers will take tier 3 groups. It's depending on the severity of the need, but everything within the classroom, again, based off of the data, it's all intentional and it's all on purpose. There's no guesswork, and everything that's being done is done for a reason. And we move through this J-curve. It is just the evolutions of meeting the needs of students. So we can start with an in-class intervention. It moves to a different tier of an intervention that is need. And then potentially we could look at some outside services if those are available for students.
So our second goal was to use the data to drive instruction, and Sean hit on several of those points, and I just want to go over a couple of those to make sure that we know exactly what a lot of those acronyms mean. So we're using our data to assure that our Tier 1 instruction, which is that bottom level of the triangle, that every student receives Tier 1 instruction, is as strong as it can be and providing mastery for at least 80% of our students. During our PLC, our teachers are looking at that Tier 1, as Sean said, and then working to improve that Tier 1 level of instruction. Then all schools have their multi-tiered systems of support, the MTSS, once a month. At those meetings, what I think has been very beneficial, we used to have data meetings at the elementary level, but that was the interventionist, the teacher, the principal, and maybe a title coordinator, okay? So those 4 people were making the decisions for those students. Now we have administrators for the building, counselors, classroom teachers, special education teachers, our coaches, our interventionists, Title I ISPs, and then sometimes the students are involved in these. Especially the junior high has started bringing in students individually. So the teacher that's directly involved in it, some of the other teachers will leave, so it's not quite as intimidating. But then they bring in the students and say, okay, here's the data, here's what we're seeing, talk to us, you know, what's going on. And I think it's been very eye-opening to those junior high students to know somebody's actually looking at these pieces of data. I mean, NWEA testing and stuff in the past, we've heard, you know, they don't care, they just do it, they rush through it in 15 minutes, it's not accurate. Well, we have to make them want to make it accurate. So when they know that we are looking at it and that we're using that to drive our instructions for their classes, then that also makes it real and they care a little bit more about it. And then the third piece is we are triangulating the data. We're looking for multiple data points. We don't want just one data point to make a decision on. We want to have at least 3 solid data points for each student so that we can get a complete picture of the child. And we're starting to get there. It's been hard. Shout out to our 3rd through 8th graders. They're piloting the checkpoint, I Learn checkpoints, and our junior high has really done a nice job with using those standards that they're being assessed on the checkpoints and drilling those down and providing what they're calling boot camps and then administering opportunity 2 and seeing improvement. But in between, during the boot camp, they're also providing these little mini assessments for progress monitoring. So they're being very intentional with their instruction.
Okay, so you were spoken to frequently, and I'm going to ask you to give me some feedback. What do these 4 companies, the images on the screen, what do these 4 companies have in common? Miss Emma, you might not even know what some of these are.
None of them are in business anymore.
None of them are in business anymore. And at one point in time, they were all the top performer in their field. Blockbuster actually had the first opportunity to have a streaming service. They thought what we were doing was good enough. Kodak had the first trademark for an electronic camera. They turned it down, said what we were doing is enough. BlackBerry would not give up the buttons. IBM, everybody in the 90s had an IBM computer. They don't sell computers anymore. I say this to say that as organizations, especially in educational organizations, we constantly have to be looking at how we can improve, and our work's never done. And the work that we've done the last 2 years, it has been a lot of hard work, but it's necessary, and it's a process that it's never going to stop. It's never going to cease if we're consistently meeting the needs of our kids. So the PLC process, how this fits together. So we start off with celebrations. Again, I'm trying to give you just an impactive statement of how all of this works together. So it starts with, we go to first base here. I'm a baseball guy, so.
Yeah,
So
I knew who created this.
You didn't have to guess. So we'll start at first base and curriculum. The tight, loose, tight, that means that when we're assessing and we're instructing across grade levels, across all 4 elementaries, we're looking at the same standards. We're using the same materials. The teachers get to put their flair and their professional spin on things, and then we are assessing in the same way. So that when we have these collaborative discussions, all of the data, we're comparing apples to apples across all 4 elementaries. Again, that's the equity of accessibility. So we get to second base, we're all assessing the same. Heading to third base, we have given the same assessment. And then third base, okay, how are we going to respond to that data? And that occurs either during Wednesdays during PLCs, or that happens once a month during the MTSS process. So PLCs, again, is more, we're looking 80% whole group instruction, what are we doing? And then MTSS is how are we diving into helping with those individual students, and that's where the differentiation comes in. So roughly, right now, I analyze approximately 30,000 data points for us as a district. So what you see here, this is a spreadsheet that goes back to 2015. I have our iLearn scores. It's coded red and green, whether we went up or down as a district, whether we went up and down as a grade level. We can track the grade levels diagonally, meaning from year to year. So I take this information, I compare it to roughly 15 other school districts that are like MCS. I compare it to our rankings in the state. I compare it to anything and everything that I can to see how are we performing, where are we doing well, and how can we improve. From those scores, I take that and I delve it down into standards from the assessments. So this is another report that teachers have access to that can help them during PLCs. SEND stands for Standards and Essential Need of Support. So what that entails is I look at, okay, we scored 50 some odd % on iLearn ELA. What does that mean? Okay, then I delve into the actual assessment and I look at what are the exact standards that we performed well on. What are the standards where we need attention? When we have SENS, that would mean that it is a standard that needs attention across all 4 elementary buildings, or across an entire grade level. Majority of the time, what that means is there's a gap in the curriculum somewhere. So at the last, Mrs. Thornton pointed out, the last 4th grade level meeting we had, we addressed a 4th grade standard, and it wasn't that it was not featured within the curriculum. She pointed out, well, we teach it for a week here, we don't touch it again for 6 weeks, then we teach it, it's very haphazard throughout the curriculum. So this helps us guide, okay, when we want to intervene, where do we intervene, or where do we need to supplement instruction? So this is for 3rd through 8th grade, and as the state is beginning to release their frameworks for kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, I'm plugging that information in here as well. So this spreadsheet, it has whether these standards are essential or not in the eyes of the state. It has the testing blueprints. It has a correlation of the old standards and the new standards, because the state just can't leave stuff alone. They want to continually try to implement new. It has item specifications. It has the frameworks of the standards. So really it's a one-stop shop, hopefully that is helpful to the teachers. Of it takes 5 or 6 things that the state has released in the last year, and it puts it all in one place, and they don't have to hunt and peck. And again, they're way more apt to, hey, Sean, come talk to me about this. Will you sit down with our grade level about that? There's one grade level I'm not going to mention because Mrs. Thornton likes to make a game out of it. I just had to pick on you. I'm sorry. So what this sheet is looking at iRead. So I use this to predict where we're going to score for iRead. The very top, that blue and yellow, that's the scores from 22-23, and then 23-24. I break it down into the different curricular areas so that I can give this information to the coaches based off of the school, so we know where our kids are performing in 2nd and 3rd grade. The bottom sheet there, I take all of our students and I use that as a predictive index and score indicator for how we do during the summer. So I take the students that maybe they did not perform well when they took the assessment the first time in the spring, but then try to track, okay, what can we do during the summer? And to Mrs. Thomas's point, the blue folders, where we really try to intensely intervene with those students to make sure that they pass the test. So I have predictive indicators of when they're taking the DIBELS middle of the year assessment. I've taken those scores, and we can try to predict how students are going to score on iLearn. We can predict how they're going to score on M-Class. Last year, I was conservative in all of my estimates, and everybody outscored what I predicted, which is I would rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver. So fairly accurate in how we perform. This is also, I track how we perform from year to year. I track how students perform from year to year in the standpoint of if they passed iLearn in 3rd grade, did they also pass iLearn in 4th grade? And I'm keeping track of the cohorts of kids from year to year. If Miss Wynn passes in 3rd grade, we want to make sure that she passes in 4th grade and 5th grade and 6th grade and make sure that we don't lose any students. I do the same thing with PSAT and the same thing with SAT. So we don't want to lose any kids from year to year. There are things that occur and there are exceptions, and this also helps us keep track of the strength of our intervention programming. When we're intervening with students, are we successful when we are intervening? And I'll let Janet finish this one up. But we are what I would consider in the infancy stages of the capabilities that we have from data-driven decision-making. I had a meeting with Dr. Snap this morning, who's one of our consultants, and based off of how we're keeping data and collecting data, he asked me if I would be willing to meet with other school districts to talk about what we're doing here at MCS. So if that's coming from an individual that ran, based off of numbers, the #1 school district in the state for 16 years, if he's asking us to go show how we're doing things to other districts in the state, I think we're on the right track.
Sounds awesome.
Absolutely.
So this is just a nice visual. Prior to the past 2 years, you know, we had an RTI program, we had a PBIS program, but this is a good visual just to kind of understand that our MTSS covers all of that and more. So that we have included collaboration with our partners. We've included the PLCs and the professional development all under our MTSS umbrella. And I just like this visual. I think it kind of helps sums it all up. Our third goal that was set by the Strategic Planning Committee was expanding opportunities for students. So that includes career exploration. We have added the college and career readiness coach that I mentioned earlier. We've also have a few of our schools that are seeking out STEM certification from the IDOE, which is a very large rubric full of lots of things to do. We do a lot of the things on the rubric already. It's just the documentation and a kind of data collection pieces, if you will, that we need to kind of beef up, and I think we'll get there pretty quickly. We have established a STEM advisory committee, and they met, and that's with community members, and the conversations that have kind of stirred up from that for our elementary has been really exciting. Our second part of expanding opportunities was just building community, and part of that is just working on our communications, which we've had Parent Square implemented, and that's been a game changer for our teachers. Our principals, it's, you know, super easy to blast out some things. I don't think scheduling conferences has ever been so easy, just some different aspects of it, and it's been really helpful for communication. Another outreach that we've added that's coming up really soon, February 26th, I'll put a plug in for it, is Cub Fest. That was a brainchild of this one behind me, and you know, I thought, okay, we'll have a few show up at the high school. I think we had, Ashley, close to 1,000 people there on the first year. So I'm really super excited for our next one. We have lots of food trucks and things coming. The third one is expanding student opportunities. The state has made this possible with changing the diploma requirements, one. So I think that I'm pretty excited about the opportunities we're looking at for our students for the SEALs that'll be added to their diplomas, and the different ways that we're going to work with our students to provide opportunities for the new high school diploma. But we've also expanded our robotics team. We've added the esports program. We've developed the fine arts pathway that was approved. The JAG pathway was just approved as a graduation pathway. So we have a lot of things, and the high school and the junior high are working together to make sure that we are providing the opportunities where we need to provide them for our students, and they're going to come to our next work session and kind of share with you some of the things that they've talked about and have going on. This is just a map of our Cub Fest to kind of let you see all the fun things. And what makes me excited is the vendors that have been coming, that came last year, they've been reaching out to me. When is Cub Fest? Make sure I know when I want to be there. So that's exciting. Some celebrations I want to add. We've got a lot to celebrate, first of all. We're closing the achievement gap. You know, we don't have everybody at proficiency level, but we've got to close the achievement gap before we get people there. I haven't told him this, but sometimes I feel like I'm in that movie Moneyball, because he runs the numbers, and then we just try to put together the perfect team. We just keep trying to work those things out. So year one, iRead showed a 6.8% growth, which was 10 times the state growth. We're pretty excited about what year two is going to bring. Last year's iLearn results showed that we have one of our schools in the top 40. They were in the top 2% for math and reading. Our high school SAT scores were the highest in the county. This is all from year one, remember. And then in year one of our new math adoption, the reveal for K through 8 is showing growth across the board, which is kind of unusual for a first year adoption because you've got the learning curve of the teachers. There's gaps in curriculum because you're going from an old curriculum to a new curriculum. So we're looking at a 5 to 10% growth average per class with the new math program. So that's very excited. The targeted interventions and data discussions that are coming from the MTSS and the PLCs from the teachers is extremely exciting. 5 through 8 hadn't had any kind of regular monthly meetings prior to this year, and they jumped right in. And the same can be said for 9 through 12. They're pretty excited with how they're already moving the needle, having individual meetings with students, and making sure we don't get kids in a bind a month or two before graduation. We want to make sure they know exactly where they're at and they're on track. Rikers Ridge referred to the DIBELS, which is ELA assessment. For K through 4 through the district, we had a 99.1% growth rate. And that boils down to 7 kids. And out of those 7 kids, I think you said 4 or 5, were already in the blue, which is at proficiency. They stayed in the blue, they just didn't have growth. And sometimes those are kids that are a little harder to grow. So they were already where they needed to be, they just didn't show the growth that they needed to. So that just leaves us, 3 or 4 kids. Not that we don't have a lot of others that we're focusing on, but we do. So those are just a few of our celebrations and working together to be student-centered, achievement-focused, and everyone valued. Anything else?
I would feel remiss if I did not also need to attribute a lot of what we're doing to the teachers, those that are in this room and those that aren't here. It's been a lot of change for them. At first, I will admit that there was a lot of hesitancy. Why are we doing this? What is the reason behind this? But just the shift that's happened in the last 6 months, data and numbers can sometimes be threatening to people, but we've made a shift as a district of people reaching out to me. I need more numbers. I need more data. I need to be able to help my children. And it's a testament to the administrators. I believe in Janet. She believes in me. I appreciate working with her. Again, the reading coaches, the teachers that we have here, this is because of them. Without their buy-in and their implementing what we're trying to achieve as a district, they have very difficult jobs. And I would feel remiss if I did not say thank you to them and the administrators and you all for your support. So thank you.
Just the fact that you guys are, leading this charge and it's showing that everybody's pulling in the same direction. And I think that's what's making a huge difference. Seemed like maybe in years past or, several years ago, as one school, was doing one thing and pulling in different directions. But the fact that we're all moving forward together is really, really showing and paying huge dividends. So thank you, guys. Okay, move on to consent agenda. 25-101, approval of agenda for the February 12th, 2025 regular meeting. 25-102, approval of minutes of the January 9th, 2025 work session and January 15th, 2025 statutory Board of Finance and regular board meeting. 25-103, approval of payments and claims. 25-104, approval of financial report. 25-105, approval of personnel report. 25-105.1, addenda to the personnel report. 25-106, donations and grants, which are as follows. Anonymous donated $100 to the district school committee. Number 2, Ada Tillo Fruit Company donated $150 to be used to help pay old meal balances. Miss Jacqueline Fraser, I guess that's right. Ada Tillo Fruit Company employee donated $143 to be used to help pay old meal balances. In Anderson Elementary School, anonymous donation of $100 to be used to assist with past due lunches. Deputy Elementary, anonymous donation of $100 to be used to assist with past due lunches. Lydia Middleton Elementary, anonymous donation of $100 to be used to assist with past due lunches. Rikers Ridge Elementary, anonymous donation of $100 to be used to assist with past due lunches accounts as well. Madison Consolidated High School, Brad Ponsler Farm donated $250 to the FFA. Emily Knox donated $25 to the band, and the Psi Iota Xi. Did I hit it?
You got it.
Daggone, that's pretty pumped now. Sorority donated $500 to the theater. 25107, approval of field trip request. 25107.1, addenda to the field trip request, which are as follows. We have a request from the high school agricultural teacher Shelby Eisen to take 14 FFA Ag students to Kentucky Expo Center in Louisville, Kentucky on February 14th, 2024.
25.
It's all right. It's going to happen. To attend the farm machinery show. The students will have the opportunity to learn about the ever-evolving technology and advancements being developed and marketed with farm machinery industry. The second request is for the high school biology teacher, Jeremy Huff, to take 125 biology students to the Newport Aquarium in Newport, Kentucky on February 28, 2025. The students will learn about the aquatic ecosystem. We have a request from high school biology teacher Shelby Green to take 135 biology students to the Newport Aquarium in Newport, Kentucky on February 28, 2025. The students will learn about the aquatic ecosystem. Number 4, we have a request from junior high art teacher Eric Fagan to take 35 8th grade advanced art students to the Cincinnati Art Museum in Newport, Kentucky on March 7th, 25. The students will view famous works of art and movements in the museum culture. Fifth request is we have a request from the high school bowling coach, Michael Heitz, to take 4 bowlers to participate in the bowling regionals on January 24th, 25th, 2025 at Bloomington, Indiana. Number 6, we have a request from Kelly Herford, high school select teacher, to take 50 U.S. history and biology students to the Cincinnati Museum, Cincinnati, Ohio on March 31st, 2025. The history students are learning about the space race during the Cold War and will incorporate their visit to the Neil Armstrong Space Exploration Gallery into a project. The goal is to learn about the political reasons behind the space race and understand how it and the technology, social, economics, and geopolitical impacts on the world today. We have a request from Shelby Green, high school science Olympiad coach, to take 6 Olympiad students to University of Southern Indiana, Evansville, Indiana on February 7th and 8th, 2025 to compete in the science Olympiad competition. We have the following request from the high school color guard coach Steve Satterfield. These trips will increase performance and skills and performance in competition. They will receive input from judges and give feedback to increase the skills. 10 color guard students to go to Northern Kentucky University at Highland Heights, Kentucky on March 29, 2025. 10 color guard students to go to the George Rogers Clark High School at Winchester, Kentucky on March 22nd, 2025. 10 color guard students to go to Elizabethtown High School, Elizabethtown, Kentucky on March 15th, 2025. 10 color guard students to go to the Ryle High School in Union, Kentucky on March 8th, 2025, and 10 color guard students to go to Lafayette High School at Lexington, Kentucky on March 1st, 2025. We have a request from the high school wrestling coach to take 12 wrestlers to the ISHA Wrestling Semi-State on February 14th through 16th, 2025 in Evansville, Indiana. Recommendation from our superintendent, Dr. Brown.
I recommend that the board approve with 1 motion and 1 vote the consent agenda items 25-101 through and including 25-107.1 as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion, we approve 25-101 through 25-107.1.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
With the motion and second, is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. No public. Okay. All right, move on to the action. 25-108, a recommendation for approval of the following resolutions. A, resolution to transfer appropriations 2024 educational fund. B, resolution to transfer appropriations 2024 operation funds. C, resolution to transfer appropriations 2024 debt service fund. And D, resolution to deposit or transfer interest to the 2025 Educational Fund. Dr. Brown.
Yeah. So biannually, on June 30th and December 31st, the Finance Department reviews the approved budget for necessary adjustments. These transfers do not increase the total approved appropriations budgeted for 2024. The transfers merely allow us to make appropriation adjustments to individual accounts. I'm recommending the board approve the resolutions as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-108.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 25-109, approval of resolution to transfer amounts from Education Fund to Operation Fund monthly. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm recommending the board approve the resolution to transfer amounts from the Education Fund to the Operations Funds monthly. We are recommending that $105,000 be transferred from the Education Fund to the Operations Fund to reimburse the Operations Fund for expenses that are not allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42-5 on a monthly basis for 2025 as needed.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve 25-109.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-109.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 25-109 passes. 25-110, approval of 2026 Impact Aid Section 7002 application. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I recommend the board approve the 2026 Impact Aid Section 7002 application. The Impact Aid Program grants funds to school districts containing federally owned land in an attempt to supplement the funds that are lost in property that's not locally taxed.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve 25-110.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-110.
A second, please.
I'll
second.
Okay, thank you. With a motion and a double second. Any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 25-110 is approved. 25-111, approval of 2026 MJHS Course Curriculum Guide. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm recommending the board approve the 25-26 MJHS Course Curriculum Guide as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve 25-111.
I'll make a motion, we approve 25-111.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. A second, please.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of 25-111 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 25-111 is approved. 25-112, approval of 2025-2026 MCHS Course Curriculum Guide.
Yeah, I'm recommending the board approve the 25-26 MCHS Course Curriculum Guide as presented.
Okay, with a, entertain a motion to approve 25-112.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-112.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion. All in favor of 25-112 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 25-112 is approved. And 25-113, second reading and approval of new MCS policies. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm seeking approval of the following new MCS policies. MCS Policy 6140, Depository Agreements and Digital Payment Applications, and MCS Policy 7540.09, Artificial Intelligence.
Entertain a motion to approve 25-113.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-113.
Mr. Benz, and a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Story. With the motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 25-113 is approved. 25-114, second reading and approval of revised MCS policies. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm seeking approval of the following revised MCS policies. MCS Policy 5111, Determination of Legal Settlement and Eligibility for Enrollment of Students Without Legal Settlement in the Corporation, Proof of Indiana Residency. MCS Policy 5500, Student Conduct. MCS Policy 5610, Suspension and Expulsion of Students. MCS Policy 6250, Required ADM Counts for the purpose of state funding and verification of residency for membership. MCS Policy 7540.03, Student Technology Acceptable Use and Safety. MCS Policy 7540.04, Staff Technology Acceptable Use and Safety. MCS Policy 8420, Emergency Preparedness Plans and Drills. Asking for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve 25-114.
Make a motion, we approve item 25-114.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And a second, please.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor of 25-114 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 25-114 is approved. 25-115, approval of agreements of contracts. A, approval of lawn care contract. B, approval of fire monitoring agreement. C, approval of the filter service agreement. And D, approval of agreement with Enviroscape. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm recommending the board approve the lawn service agreement with Green Thumb Lawn Service in the amount of $65,280 for 24 weeks of lawn service. The duties will include mowing, spraying of fence line, weed eating, blowing clippings off the walkways and roadways, and trash pickup in the grass areas. So asking for approval of that contract.
Entertain a motion to approve 25-115.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-115.
Thank you, Mr. Story. A second?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Should we clarify this that we're approving 25-115A?
Are we doing all of them?
You want to do them individually?
Well, Dr. Brown
each
only read the
different.
one,
Okay.
so
Okay.
Each one's a separate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Scott.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve 25-115A.
Okay, very good. And is there a second, please?
Yeah, I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? I'd just like to state, I'd like to thank Jay. And just wanted to thank you for your hard work on taking this contract. I think it's important that we let the public know that it's actually a lot less than the previous year, and I think you worked through, a cutting schedule that's going to allow that. So we appreciate your efforts on saving those dollars. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of 25-115A, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. 25-115A is approved. 25-115B, approval of the fire monitoring agreement. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I recommend the board approve the fire monitoring agreement with Superior Fire and Security for fire protection services and monitoring in the amounts of $23,990 per year, and then a sprinkler backflow testing for $1,600 for a grand total of $25,590 for all of our schools.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve 25-115B.
make a motion, we approve 25-115B.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And a second?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor of 25-115B, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 25-115B is approved. 25-115C, approval of filter service agreement. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I recommend the board approve the filter service agreement with Filter Services of Indiana, Inc. in the amount of $6,799.27 annually. Filter Services will change out filters in all the buildings twice a year and then remove and dispose old filters. Asking for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I entertain a motion to approve 25-115C.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-115C.
Thank you, Mr. Story. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. With the motion and second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of 25-115C, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 25-115C is approved. 25-115D, approval of agreement with Enviroscape. Dr. Brown.
I recommend the board approve the agreement in the total amount of $20,194.70. The areas to be treated are the sports fields, the non-sports areas, and all kill treatments. So altogether, the total cost is $20,194.70. I'm asking for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Seeing none discussion, all in favor of approval of 25-115D, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. 25-116, approval of E-rate funding for hotspots. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm recommending the board approve the purchase of 100 hotspots from CDWG and Khajiit using federal E-rate funding for hotspots. E-rate funding pays for 80% of the hotspot device cost and 80% of the internet provider's fees. We had 4 bids, one each from AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, and one from CDWG, who's the vendor of Khajiit. Khajiit offers a hotspot that works with all 3 of those providers and also offers a dashboard that has more content controls that help keep our students safe while online. Once purchased, the recipients of the hotspots will be determined by our internet surveys that we have during registration, and preference will be given to those who do not have internet at home and have a homework load that the student might need support. I'm recommending the board approve the CDWG and Khajiit for our E-rate hotspot vendor. The total will be $22,360, but we only have to pay $4,472 of that cost.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Entertain a motion to approve 25-116,
I'm making a motion to approve 25-116.
and a second, please.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? I would like to thank Josh for all his hard work on this. It's very important that we have our children able to access the internet and computers from home, and this is certainly going to go a long way in helping. So we appreciate your hard work on that, Josh.
Exciting.
No other discussion? Okay, all in favor of 25-116? Approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 25-116 is approved. Student reps? All righty.
Good evening. I just have a few announcements and lots of celebrations for you this evening. So first of all, the one I'm most excited about, not that I'm not excited about everything, but our girls swim team had an outstanding sectional meet. Lily Canada broke the 100 freestyle record and won all 4 of her events, which is the most anyone won at our sectional meet. So she's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yes. Avery Johnson also won the 100 backstroke and broke our school record. And both our medley relay and 400 freestyle relay, and then both of Lily's events and Avery's 100 backstroke are competing at state this Friday. So good luck to them.
Awesome.
Congratulations to our girls basketball team and our wrestling teams on great seasons, and good luck to our boys wrestling team still has to wrestle, right? Okay, the regional people. So good luck to them. Good luck to our boys swim team and our boys basketball teams in their sectionals in the coming weeks. Congratulations to Maylee and Brooklyn on their season. And congratulations to Taylor Miller, who qualified for the high school bowling state tournament. And the homecoming basketball game is February 22nd, so go out and see the court and see our boys play. Some celebrations for our academic teams. Science Olympiad qualified for state and finished first in our area competition last weekend. And Congrès was last month for our high school French students, and that went very well. Several students placed first. Madison Theater will be performing the Share Show on March 7th through the 9th at the high school auditorium. So that's a 7 o'clock show on Friday and Saturday, and a 2:30 show on Saturday and Sunday. So be sure to go check out our great cast and crew. We had some choir students go and compete at ISMA a few weeks ago. So Savannah Hall received silver, and Zuzu Bailey, Sophia Rauman, Claire Miller, Chelsea Datillo, and Gabby Vest all received gold and will be going to state for that. I also want to say a big thank you to all of our wonderful school counselors. Last week was School Counselors Week, and we are just so thankful for all you do for us each and every day. Cub Fest is on February 26th at the high school from 5 to 7, so I encourage all of you to attend and see all of the great things that MCS has to offer and all the fun things we have going on. And be sure to be checking your email and staying up to date on Student Square and Parent Square, and you've got, I think even on these virtual days, we need to be checking and see what's going on. So stay safe and warm and have a fantastic week.
Thank you, Ms. Emma. Mike?
Okay, I'd first like to give a shout out to the girls wrestling team. It was at state. It was interesting. I continued to check my phone and Facebook throughout the day for updates from Stacy and another parent that was there. So that was just super cool. Second, I got to participate or support, if you will, this young lady's senior night at the junior high swim pool. They had a meet against, I believe it was Lanesville and Charlestown, and it was just fun to watch her particularly swim and compete. But yeah, the Canada girl and coupler girl are really fast. Thank you, Rikers Ridge, for coming tonight. Kenton, Aaron, and Amanda. Always love to hear what's going on at the schools. Janet and Sean, thank you for everything that you do. And Sean, I've had more than one teacher in talking to them say that you've been a breath of fresh air when it comes to taking all this data and making sense of it. So besides bringing us lots of money in form of grants and stuff like that, you also break down data. So you're well worth what we pay you, in my opinion.
Don't tell him that.
Lastly, I want to touch on something. When you're a public official, you hear all kinds of stuff, both positive and negative. And the last couple days, I've heard my share of we shouldn't have closed school or we should close school and that kind of stuff. And I dare say, no matter what you choose, you're going to have some people who agree and some people who don't. And there may be a lot of people in this room that don't even remember this. Sadly, I do. And it was in October of 1973. There was a bus accident involving a Madison school bus and a semi at the Michigan Road and 421 intersection. And we lost 4 students' lives that day, okay? And so weather is always very crazy and tricky to predict, but I will always side on caution and safety, okay? And so I did a little research this morning because I couldn't remember the exact date and some of the specifics, but thanks to the internet and the Madison Courier, I was able to find that. And obviously there's some people or family in this community whose lives have never been the same since that day.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
First of all, I want to thank Rikers Ridge, Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Lawfer and Mr. Mahoney for coming and sharing what's going on with your school. I say this every time. I love hearing about the schools, so thank you and the things that you're doing. I love the Leader in Me program, so love hearing about how that's progressing also. And good luck on the legacy. That's very exciting. And Janet and Sean, I don't know, it might be my new favorite. I love hearing about the data and the things that are going. I want to applaud everybody, teachers, staff, everybody in the district that's working hard on this because this is exciting. I mean, this is my 6th year on the board, and this is probably one of the most exciting things that I've been a part. I don't know that I'm a part of, but been able to witness. So thank you all, and a huge thanks to you, Dr. Brown, for leading this. I don't know if anybody else could have and I know it was hard because change is hard. Change is really hard. So I applaud you all for being open to that because it is hard work. And to be able to see these, this movement in this is really exciting for me. So thank you all.
I would like to say a couple of things. First, something slipped past them all the way to me. Our JAG team last week competed in the Career Development Conference, and we had several placers. So I want to congratulate. I only know because my son was on it. That's the only reason. Only reason. Full disclosure. But congratulations. We had several placers. Terralyn, I'm not going to get your last name right. Terralyn Scarlow, Career Preparedness. Hunter Thompson took 3rd place in Prepared Speaking. Emily Lawfer, Kylie Montgomery, and Della Gibson took 3rd place in PBL. 4th place, Ariana Dews, Riley Vaughn, Tamia Harris in Business Planning. Honorable mention, Gracie Kincaid for Outstanding Senior. And our JAG social media team took 2nd place. So congrats to our JAG program for their performance at the Career Development Conference. I'd like to say thanks to the National Guard. The National Guard donated warm-up like t-shirts to all of our winter sports programs. It just went out, I think, this week, but they're really nice tops. So thank you to the National Guard for that. All of our sports programs, I won't repeat them all, but good luck. Congratulations to all of them. Their season's wrapping up. Their season's continuing. We really appreciate their hard work and putting a positive name out there for the Madison community. Mr. Mahoney and the Rikers Ridge staff, I always enjoy specifically the community service piece, so thank you for that. I think it's really neat that the students get buy-in to more than just the academic part of it, but kind of a self-worth, a self-value, so thank you for that. Janet and Sean, I really like the new teacher development piece with the corporation. Being an educator and still remember when I was a new teacher, sometimes you feel like you're out on an island, so I appreciate that new teacher development piece. I think that's important to retention, buy-in, especially you see teachers burn out a lot, new teachers burn out a lot. So I think that's a big important piece for the school moving forward. The data-driven decision-making is huge. Just being able to pull that piece, Sean, on each student and kind of track where they're at, where they're going. I know I need access to my kids when we're done tonight so I can, so I can see where I need to ground them for. No, but that's really, really big. So thank you guys for all of that. And then mark your calendars, May 17th at the Fairfield Inn, we'll be having our first ever, the athletic department will be having their first ever Big Red Rally, a fundraising dinner. It's in the very early planning stages, but we have a date, May 17th, and we have a location, the Fairfield Inn. So Patrick and his team will be working to get more stuff together and information out as we get closer to that. And that's all I have.
Sorry.
What's that?
What was it called again?
The Big Red Rally.
Big Red Rally. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Davey?
Me? I'm not going to repeat everything. It's basically ditto going through that. So great presentations. I don't think I mentioned it last month, but I did, like normal, help the FFA with their interviews for officer positions. I always praise them. To think of when I was in high school, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, going in for an interview, those kids rock it every single year. And it makes it hard to choose, you know, who's getting what and so forth. So great job to the FFA. I do want to remind everyone, I know it was talked about earlier, but Cub Fest, I participated in that last year and was just blown away. I would have a better idea this year on popcorn and how much we would go through because I wasn't quite told it was that busy and stuff. So I'm sure it's going to be bigger this year. Normally I pick on this person, so I'm going to give her a compliment. Mandy. Thanks for coming to the board meetings. Like seeing you out there. Don't get used to me being nice to you and stuff, but thank you for that. And then Carla, every couple months I give a shout out to you because I do appreciate you coming here and supporting us and getting, you find out so much more information here and then you can take it into the school system. So thank you for that.
Worst part of being second from last is being last. So, yeah. So we reiterated a few things, but I would like to thank our Rikers Ridge family for being here tonight. Very impressive program, very impressive school, and I too took away, a lot of it, but one thing that really stuck out with me, and I think Mr. Bench just mentioned it, is the community service or the service projects. That is so important that we teach our kids that, and you guys are knocking it out of the park there with something every month, so that's awesome. We appreciate that, and that goes a long way with making a good citizen someday when they learn that early. It's good lessons to be learned. So thank you guys for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing all that positive information that you have going on. Again, Sean and Janet, you guys doing an amazing job. I can tell Sean's still young because I can't see them. I got to get down there these days all the way down on it. He's got those young eyes on there. Yeah. As he gets older, and we hope to keep him around for the next 30 years, you're going to notice his graphs are going to start getting a lot bigger. But no, we appreciate you guys and all the hard work and your leadership, and of course, Dr. Brown's leadership on that as well. Dr. Brown.
All right. First of all, thank you to Kenton, Aaron, and Amanda. Appreciate you being here and sharing your story and the good work that you're doing at Rikers. Greatly appreciate it. And Janet and Sean, as the others have said, appreciate the work that you're doing with our teachers and in our district every day, helping further our strategic plan and being very intentional in the work you do. I appreciate that. Cub Fest is February 26th at 5 p.m., 5 to 7, and we have 5 food trucks that are going to be there. Every staff member will receive a $10 voucher so they can get dinner while they're there. And we will have preschool through 12th grade represented. So it's going to be pretty cool. Kids performing in the auditorium, activities going on in the whole high school. So it's going to be a pretty eventful night, and hopefully the weather cooperates. I can't control that, unfortunately. If I would, I could. And February 13th, which is tomorrow, Jacob's going to be hosting the Jefferson County Safety meeting for the whole county. And so I greatly appreciate his leadership within the county in that, and certainly making sure that we have everything kind of buttoned down. And he's now, I think, the chairperson of that group.
It's fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to try not to leave anybody out. Good luck to our wrestling team. We have 6 wrestlers this weekend at semi-state. We have 4 girls competing in 5 events with the girls swim team at state. They've broken several school records and are on fire right now. So we're very proud of them and their coach, John Schutte, the work that they've done together to get to that point where they're able to be so competitive. Proud of our winter sports teams, JAG, FFA, band and choir. Bowling is also competing this weekend. Archery is doing very, very well, I heard this week. And our elementary schools had 3 of our schools placed in the top 10 in the state in Science Bowl. So we're just doing a lot of things across the curriculum and in sports. Just very proud of our kids and our staff. Great things happening. I don't know why anybody would choose to go any place but Madison Consolidated Schools. That is all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Next work session will be Monday, March 10th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. The next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
With a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Oh.